Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Christ, and I am joined by Liz Williams. She is a registered interior designer here at TEXTON. And this presentation or webinar is about digital printing for interiors, why it's awesome, and what you need to know for your next project. Just a couple of housekeeping items. I've got everybody on mute for the time being. This session is being recorded, so you'll be able to refer to it later on. We will post a link for the recording 24 hours after this session has ended. There is a question and answer window. So if you have questions, there is a button within Zoom that will pop up a question and answer box, and you can ask those questions. Liz and I will be monitoring those throughout this time. We expect that this will go about 45 to 50 minutes, and then allowing the last 10 minutes for question and answer. Just a quick background on myself. As I mentioned, I'm over sales and marketing here at TEXTON. I've been in the digital printing industry for interiors for, I guess, my whole life. So I've been here with TEXTON for about 2.5 years. So, and I wanted to introduce our VIP guest, Liz Williams. Liz, can you maybe give a background of yourself and whatnot?
Sure. Can you hear me, Ryan?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, as Ryan said, I'm a designer, excuse me, there at TEXTON, and I have been doing design work of various, oh, excuse me, my voice this morning, various fields of design. Right now with TEXTON, I helped create the color roller shade book that hopefully you've seen. If not, we'll talk just a little bit about that. And I love the creative aspect of it. I do not have a printing background. I don't really have a graphic design background, but I do have the design background. So I can come up with ideas and hopefully somebody else can follow through with it. So we're excited to talk to you about this today.
Very awesome. So for those of you who actually aren't familiar with TEXTON, we're actually a Dallas-based manufacturer of window treatments, including retractable exterior shades, shutters, as well as our award-winning color roller shade program. This program actually that you're looking at right now is printed entirely on demand, which is actually why we wanted to have this discussion around digital printing and how it can be used for interior design applications. And just to touch on real quick about what our agenda is, Liz is going to talk to you about, what is digital printing and why it has become so popular. Actually, kind of go over things that you never knew could be digitally printed. There's a lot of misnomers out there, so hopefully be able to kind of demystify those. How printing is used to create spaces and be intentional with design. And from there, I'll be touching on ways to utilize digital printing in your project, some areas of caution, how to order these pieces throughout really any vendor and what to expect. And then we'll open the floor for some question and answer. And again, Liz and I are monitoring the question and answer box. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask it in that box. And if needed, we'll pause our discussion and answer it. If not, we'll hold it to the very end. If we don't get to your question, I will personally reach out to you after this presentation and answer your question on a one-on-one basis. So just to kind of give a definition of digital printing. And what we're talking about. So for the purpose of this presentation, I'm defining digital printing as the process of applying a design or artwork to material that is within a fully computerized process. we're mainly talking about what's called wide format printing. So these, so these printers, like what you're looking at here on your screen, they range in size from down to 60 inches wide to 10 feet wide, which is what we have here in house, and up to 15 feet wide. What you're looking at is one that prints on flexible materials like fabrics and whatnot. And then there's also what's called a flatbed screen, or a flatbed printer, to where you can print on rigid materials. And those printers are 4 feet by 8 feet in size, or some are 5 feet by 10 feet in size. And just a quick capture here of kind of what this looks like in action. So before we get into the rise in popularity, I kind of want to ask Liz. Liz, what really intrigues you the most about digital printing?
Really, that the possibilities are endless. Whether it is in the roller shades, fabrics, many other products in your home. And commercial spaces are printed, as in tile, all of this, but also that you can take one pattern that you may like, but the colors aren't right. So you can change the colorway completely. You can change it slightly. You can change the scale of something. You can make it like a mini pattern, or you can blow it up and make it an extra large type of mural look. And it also gives you a way to personalize it, whether it's changing, like I said, the color. You can put a name on it. I mean, there's so many different ways to personalize it, but I think that is the exciting thing for me of digital printing, is you're not limited to just what you see. It's like, you can run with it as far as you want. So really the possibility.
Yeah, it's funny. I get the feeling, or really, like, to me, it's the perfect opportunity to make space very intentional and define space within design. Where we always see we need a pop of color. Really, it's be more intentional with design, how we use it. Different colors and whatnot too. So, Liz, too. Can you talk about why there's been such a rise in popularity for digital printed items in the past 5 years?
Sure. I think one of the first things that comes to my mind is just the printing technology has advanced so far that you are able to get very high quality prints on different substrates. So I think once the technology is there, then I think that's where it really starts to build in popularity. People are coming up with new and innovative ways to use the printing. And excuse me, I think a lot of people want that unique design, but at an affordable price. And so personalized design has really become affordable, but priceless. People also that have a vision of new ways to use printing. I may have covered that a little bit. Ed Williams, TEXTON's CEO, had the idea for creating the color book out of a necessity, out of a need. There was a manufacturer that was discontinuing a roller shade book that we had been selling for probably about 18 months, and all of a sudden the whole book was going to be discontinued. And in order to keep the clients happy and keep product coming in, we had to come up with a new way of being able to service the clients and not have to buy so much inventory, but also it allowed us to create so many new designs and not having all of that inventory on hand. It also helped being able to pivot fast with the new fashion designs, the fashion trends. You know, I feel like the paint companies now are coming up with a new color of the year. It seems like every month it's changing, and different manufacturers have this color, then this color. Well, in the past, it would take a couple of years for that color trend to incorporate into the home industry, just because of how the products were manufactured. And now with the printing, digital printing, you know, we can keep up with those trends immediately. There's really not any delay time. So, you know, the next new popular color of the year is royal purple. Well, we can print a royal purple shade today. Other manufacturers can come up with something royal purple immediately as well. So I think that's also one of the fun things about it, is that it can happen so quickly.
Very awesome. Before we start to go into some common applications with digital printing and whatnot, I do just want to take a quick poll here, and so you'll see it here on your screen. If each of you can select what product featured here cannot be printed digitally. If you can maybe take a minute and answer that question, I will share it with the audience here. This is super cool. A lot of interesting responses here. Ollie, I guess we clarified about the roller shades, Liz. I'll wait for a couple more seconds so people can answer, and then we'll share these responses right quick. Almost everyone has participated, so 1 second here. All right, so let's go ahead and share these results. So everyone thinks that the #1 item that cannot be digitally printed would be carpet, followed by countertops, tile, and drapery. So the weird thing is that actually all of those items can be digitally printed, and in fact, you may be sitting on one or standing on a surface that is digitally printed right now. So the next few slides that we have here actually are things you never knew that were digitally printed, and I've actually asked Liz to kind of narrate here kind of what we're looking at and how it's used in a space and why it's become so popular. So the first one is a ceramic tile. So Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, so the first picture of the white marble shower, that is actually a printed tile from Dow Tile, and it makes it look like an actual white marble. You can see the various tiles are all unique and different. Well, if you look closely enough, you will see a repeat eventually of that same pattern. But once as it's installed, if you rotate a tile, put it next to a different one, everything starts to look different. What's great about this is if you use real marble in the shower, this white, it's never going to look as beautiful as the day you put it in. The water and different shampoos and soaps can turn the marble a different color. You have to be very careful about cleaning products that you use on it, as well as just yearly maintenance. So this shower that is here is really easy to care for, and it's beautiful. It's going to be beautiful for years. Even the bedroom you see the wood floor, that is by Inner Ceramic, and that again is another tile that is printed with many different patterns of wood graining. Again, the durability of that is if you have animals, ceramic tile is going to be more durable than a wood. In some instances, you don't have to worry about wiping up water as soon as it's spilled. And then also the backsplash down below, it's a mix of the white marble and the wood look, and both of those are a tile. It's either a ceramic or porcelain. I can't tell by this picture. But there's just so many applications that you don't initially think, oh, that's printed. Ryan, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Upholstery. Again, all of these are printed designs. You know, the office chair with that pretty prism colored fabric, you know, that adds a lot of splash and pizzazz to an office space. So I think this one is kind of self-explanatory of upholstery fabrics printed. Okay, next slide, Ryan.
Very cool.
Wall covering again. So the top two pictures is by a photographer, designer, Ellie Cashman. I believe she's from England, but she creates these beautiful still life photos and manipulates the color some. She changes the scale of some of them. So like this peacock feather here, you can see there's two different colorways, right and left. But I've also seen some of her stuff that is like super large. So she may have a flower that's 3 or 4 feet wide that just creates this huge mural effect. The photo down below is wall covering from Design Text. You can see that the image on the left, the landscape scene, and the other wall with the graphics, you know, those are all in almost that sepia color to coordinate with the colors in the rug. But you could very easily take that same image and give it the full color, you know, the browns, greens, blues, all of that. Or you could even change it to a black and white. You can change it to a one color, a red or a blue. So this gives you an idea of different possibilities of printing images. And is there one more slide, right? Oh, clothing, of course. Yep. Now you can see our very fashionable Ryan to the upper right there, and our CEO, Ed Williams, in their lovely printed suit and vest. That was kind of a joke, but fun. Ryan, do you have any comments on that?
It was very fun to wear. Actually, we have 3 of these suits here at TEXTON that we wear for the shows, and every year we have to skinny down and make sure that we still fit in these. So, but yes.
Oh, and then the woman with the yellow shirt on, her scarf is digitally printed. Just the vibrant colors, it's just so beautiful. And then you also see the floral dress that's digitally printed. Okay. Oh yes, rugs. These are all examples from Ruggable. Again, they are all printed. I know they've got different colorways, different designs. What's interesting about these rugs, as I actually own one, I've got 2 dogs, and it's so easy to clean up messes. I've spot cleaned an area. These rugs are supposed to be able to throw in the washer and hang them up to dry, I believe. But again, digitally printed, it really brings the price down versus, you know, a hand knotted rug, and also the durability and ease of caring for them. Next slide. And drapery. Again, here you see some different printed designs. There's the shears that are kind of the multicolored rainbow, the yellow and gray diamonds. And then the other 2, again, those are all printed examples of drapery.
And now for an oddball being exteriors.
Yeah, so this is a product that we call Optex. You see in that upper picture, with the shutters on the windows. Those are not shutters, but it is a printed solar screen made to look like shutters. Here in Texas, we have so much heat and bright sunlight that a lot of people use the exterior solar screens. They're not operable, they're fixed. I think like Phoenix, Arizona uses a lot of these, but this is really a new product that is really catching the eye of so many. You see it and you say it's shutters and people are going, no, it's not. These can be used on the outside of the house or even on the inside of the window. And the bottom picture again shows the Optech screen. It's a really neat product.
Yeah. And then we have one more after this one. So
these are the retractable exterior screens, and this is the front of our building going into the showroom. We did a picture of our Texas bluebonnets that everybody loves. I think the color is just beautiful and vibrant. The first picture shows the shades in operation. The right picture shows with the screens all the way down and how you can see that it's a continuous picture. The bluebonnets up close, that is just showing you the detail and the color vibrancy that you can see up close. And then the far right picture is what that looks like from the inside looking out. You don't really see the image at all on that. And then we have our roller shades. Let's see, the large picture down below obviously is a hotel room. We've done a lot of hospitality. I love with the hospitality, just the large scale design printed on there with the leaves. I think it's very striking. And then the upper two, let's see, the one on the left shows our South Seas collection, which is a woven wood look-alike. And then the other one, it's kind of hard to see, but with the gray, white stripes, the texture. So those are all printed as well.
Very cool. You know, you mentioned South Seas, and it's funny because that's actually the next kind of a section of our discussion. You know, and in this part, you know, I kind of want to highlight on how digital printing can solve more than a design problem. You know, more so how it can solve a functionality issue in a space and things like that. So Liz, can you kind of maybe shed some light on how our approach to printing solved more than a design problem with South Seas?
Yeah, of course. So this is actually a printed product that is made to look like woven wood and grass weaves. Some of the great things about this is it can be printed on different fabrics, whether it's a light filtering or a blackout. It shows white from the outside. So that is really offering more options than what just a traditional woven wood shade is. On these pictures, the four to the left, you can see the back of these shades is just a white fabric, where if it was an actual woven wood, it would be the woven wood on front and back. Also durability. A lot of the printed products, whether it's the shades or tile, like I said about that white marble bathroom, the durability of the products is much user-friendly, much more user-friendly than the actual product. Also availability. I had touched on that before about the keeping up with the trends. Products aren't discontinued, colorways aren't discontinued. So the availability is a great thing. Also, let's see, on some of the products like this South Seas collection, it's a roller shade rather than a Roman shade. So when it's in use, you don't have that bulkiness of the grass weave roller shades. It's just a much cleaner look that's not quite so bulky. Oh, and one other thing on this, sometimes printed products, you can change the size, or larger sizes are available. For instance, woven wood shades with this South Seas collection, we can go up to 9 or 10 feet wide or long, where with an actual woven wood, you would not get anywhere near that size. It would be too heavy to operate, and plus the material just doesn't come in that large of size. Ryan, do you have anything else to add on that?
No, but those are very good points. Well, and well, I actually do. Using an application like this, it allows you to have, say, the woven wood design in both a light filtering and a blackout application, and so they match if they're in the window as a dual shade. So, but that would be. And we do have one question here. So Chad Brown asks, is there a South Seas sample kit? Yes, Chad, there is. If you go to our website, TEXTON.com, and scroll down, there's a section for South Seas. If you click on that, it'll go to a landing page where you can request the kit. So, aside from from what's on the screen here, what are some common challenges and misnomers, Liz, that you've seen with digital printing, and I guess kind of how can we dispel these?
Yeah, so the first one, it feels cheap. Again, I'm going to go back to the digital printing technology that has come such a long ways that in the past, when the technology was first starting out, it probably looked really cheap. Maybe you could see the pixels. It didn't feel natural, and so the eye wasn't fooled, and therefore it made it look cheap. The second misnomer is that it's not durable and it fades easily. That is not true at all. We have another slide that will address that and explain that a little bit more. It's too complicated to understand. I think that is probably, for a lot of people, that is the first one, or the largest one. So I always like to call it the blank page syndrome, when, here you're offered this digital book. Well, we could just have it all be blank and say, whatever you can come up with, we can create. But a lot of people, they just look at it and go, I don't know. I don't know. So it helps to have a starting point. What we tried to do with this color book is give you some great, very usable patterns and colors that clients love, but also gets them started to see the possibility of changing it up and personalizing it. It allows manufacturers to provide a multitude of unique designs at an affordable price point. It gives them an original design. It's personalized design, is affordable, but it's priceless. The misnomer, any print shop can do this. From the beginning slides, Ryan showed you the larger flatbed and wide print. Oh my gosh, mine went blank on the name of that. I'm sorry. But it's not every print shop can do it, because you need to have the proper printer, and so I'm losing my train of thought there. So yeah, Brian, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, no, on not any print shop can do this, and I'll touch on this towards the end as well. When you print for interiors, you're not just working with your typical Pantone colors and typical graphic files. Manufacturers need to be receptive to the interior design community and market, and be able to work with matching existing fabric samples, color samples, and whatnot. And so there's some sensitivity and additional support that is needed to really make that project work well. And not everyone can do that. And so I'll touch more on that towards the end. We do have a couple questions here.
Yeah, Ryan, Catherine Richardson, I'm sorry for talking over you.
Yeah.
Richardson had a great question. Can you speak to any ecological benefits to digital printing?
Yeah, I can definitely answer that. So, there's a lot. So, for example, TEXTON uses an ink technology called latex ink. So, one of the great benefits of that is that the byproduct of manufacturing that one is very green, or is water really. So it's a very green, eco-friendly manufacturing process. Two, when it's in the home or the interiors, there's no off gassing. So as opposed to some other types of print manufacturing, you have off gassing, which creates an odor, and some people are more susceptible than others to these odors, and can cause headaches and whatnot too. When you look at maybe like a waste scenario from a manufacturing perspective, it allows us to be very strategic in how we buy material. So we're just buying, say, base white material, and that drastically reduces our waste and our carbon of footprint too. So yeah, there are a lot of ecological benefits to that. And someone also asked about the color ranges versus screen printing, and I have a specific slide on that here later on. So I'll definitely touch on that. So, okay. So one second here. So Liz, thanks again for a great perspective of of kind of how and why digital printing is used for interior designs. And so now what I want to do is I wanted to look at how you can use digital printing for your next project, and actually everything, or really what you need to know before starting it and engaging it and everything else. So one of the cool things that you actually may not know, that you're already using a digital printed product. So if you've ordered, from places like TEXTON, RM Coco, Ruggable, among others, they manufacture their product digitally. And so a lot of the manufacturers are actually transitioning to this type of a process, to really reduce waste and quickly provide relevant product to the market. There's this theory, or this concept of being able to rapid prototype designs and get them to the market quickly. Not so much the fast fashion, but to be very, very relevant and capture on trends. And so digital allows you to do that. But Liz also touched on too. It's like, aside from ordering a SKU out of a book, there's ways that be able to work with a manufacturer and modify an existing pattern. So I kind of call this a customize on demand. TEXTON calls this Color Plus. And so this allows you to maybe match a paint color or fabric swatch or a Pantone color and apply that to something else in our book here. And we do have a lot more questions, and I will certainly get to this here at the end. So this is all very good questions. So here on the screen, it's just a very quick example of what we did, or really, I would say 50% of Color Plus is, hey, can you match this shade pattern to a paint color? And so in our existing collection, we have a pattern called Edmund Shadow, and actually that's available in Ester Blackout. And recently a customer asked, hey, a lot of the accent colors in this space is using the Sherwin-Williams paint color called Cloudburst. And so we've kind of fine-tuned our machines to replicate that color within the digital environment. And so what we've done is, we take the values of that color, apply it to the pattern, And then on the right here is what you're seeing is the actual new strike off that would be sent to the client for review in the home. Something like this, because everything is manufactured on demand, we're not having to create a new massive roll of materials. So actually, to get something that is very personalized and customized for the space is financially very achievable. It's not something that is out of most budgets. For us, it's a simple fee for color matching and a strike off, and go from there. So it's a very fun, engaging process.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I add to this? I was thinking as a designer, dealer, whatever, working with a client on a project like this, it really gives the client a sense of, I don't know, accomplishment, or, they can show it off to their friends and say, look, I designed this shade. I designed this color. I picked it. It's like, oh, I caught a fish this big.
Yes.
Let them brag, let your clients brag, take ownership of it and say, hey, I created this.
Yes, no, that's a really good point. No, that's awesome. The next part of have to maybe utilize digital printing is completely, or using a completely custom design. One that's, say, you're looking in a manufacturer's book and there's nothing in there that meets that demand or that need, and so now is your time to create something that is 100% geared to you. So I've kind of divvied this up into two sections here. On the left is what I call original art. So that is something maybe you or your client provides a photograph that you want to be printed on that material, be it a roller shade or a drapery or tile or something like that. Maybe your homeowner or client is an artist or a designer, and there's some sort of illustration or painting that is brought to them in a digital form that can be applied. Maybe you're also working in a corporate environment or a business, and they want to apply some branding or a logo shape, to these materials too. So that would be original art. On the other side too, is where you really kind of take digital printing to a whole new level. As we mentioned, one of the reasons why we created color was because a lot of the patterns and materials were being discontinued, right? So it wasn't very fair to our clients and end users and so forth. So what you can do is actually, if there's a design that has been discontinued, things like that, but you want that on a roller shade or a piece of upholstery, something like that. TEXTON and other companies can take that design and create a look that is inspired by that or looks similar, but it's not a direct copy, and apply it to that. And again, you don't want to copy someone else's artwork because one, it's copyrighted, and two, that's not very respectful too. And then one of the other applications is you may see a pattern that is available in a drapery application. But maybe you want that similar design in a roller shape application. And so most manufacturers can say, hey, we'll create a look that is inspired by that and apply it to that new material. I actually have a great example of what that looks like here. One of our attendees, Barry Brown, it was one of his projects. So just real quick here, looking at an example. So one of our more recent projects, a customer was actually, they have somewhat of a media room in their house, and they wanted to have some sort of media or movie theme and personalization. So what we recommended in this scenario was, because it's you're printing it across a really 8 or 9 feet, you need to start with a very high resolution image. And so it's very hard to find those, just by going to Google and so forth too, and copyright issues. So what we did is we went to a stock photo website. So this one was just the Adobe stock photo, but you can find other things like Shutterstock or Corbis and whatnot. We purchased this stock photo. I think it was maybe like $25 or $50. And then from there, we converted to black and white. And then for manufacturing, we applied this over 4 or 5 different roller shades with these side channels. And so now you have a very continuous image across the shade, and it's 100% unique to that space. One of our clients here recently too, they had a wall covering in their bathroom, and and then across from the bathroom, they had more so of a closet that they were trying to creatively have a covering over some things that were in that closet. So we got a sample of the wall covering, and we modified the pattern and the scale, and then applied that to the roller shade. And so as you can see here, so it uses our 5-inch printed plastic balance, and then you have that nice pattern and repeat throughout. And then over on the far right is another example of what we did, blending a roller shade to match the wall covering and so forth. Our next one that we did, as far as custom, again, so this is where the client, they had the drapery, and then they had another window in the same space, and they wanted to provide really some continuity. Again, being mindful of you can't copy a pattern directly. We created one that was inspired by that pattern and applied to the roller shades. What you're looking at here is a roller shade with a cassette at the top that has the printed infill, and the client was elated. So Barry, if you're on here, thank you very much for that opportunity. So and again, I see all of your questions, and I will certainly get to these here right during our question and answer period. I mentioned too the aspect of logo shades. So being able to have a logo or business branding on these as well. So the image to the left here, you're looking at, this is for an art gallery. It's a very nice way to present imagery versus doing custom glass film and whatnot, which can, which the labor to install that is actually a lot more than just the material itself. So they opted to do a printed roller shade. Same thing here for these windows here on the right. So let's kind of talk about what you need to know. So here is kind of where I'm going to get into some technicalities and so forth, and just kind of touch on how to really get the most out of these projects and ensure that the project goes smoothly, not just for you, but for the homeowner or property owner themselves. So there's really kind of 4 main things that I always caution on. Grays are a gray area. Matching colors. The range of colors within digital printings, and also make sure that you view the print within the actual room before going to production. So just real quick here. So because when you print gray, you aren't just printing black. That color doesn't occur naturally, right? So you're adding colors to that to create gray. Based on the light that you're looking at, a gray color may go yellow, it may go purple or magenta, or it may go blue. And that's really because of some of the light that you're viewing it in. So most print shops, they're going to be viewing that sample within a perfectly lit space. Now, understanding that that's not exactly how a client's house or room is going to be lit, but that's how they gauge it. So that's kind of why we always say view it within the actual room. You know, two of the biggest things that create or that that drive really an error ratio within printing is temperature and humidity. And so what that is if you have something printed 2 years ago and you go to kind of reorder that 2 years later, there's a chance that those pieces may not match because that color is actually changed by humidity and temperature. And so just kind of an NFI, but that's really nothing new to the industry, because when you look at things like dye lots on certain fabrics and so forth, those same variables also exist within traditional manufacturing. So just kind of a word of caution, too. And this really mainly applies to actually printing and so forth, or I'm sorry, the commercial branding. So your ICs have really an infinite amount of color, but when you kind of convert what you're seeing to a digital realm, that scope of what you can see gets smaller, smaller, and smaller. And so where these issues may come into play is maybe you're trying to reproduce the Home Depot orange or another brand color in digital printing. And sometimes those colors are outside of the range of a printer or the ink capability. And so just kind of, as an FYI, some colors or gamuts, may not be achievable on a certain type of material or ink and whatnot. So just really as an FYI of, hey, here's what can and can't be done. And again, like I mentioned, when you do a custom piece, make sure that you're viewing that color in the actual room. So LED lights are really the future of things right now, but we still have things like tungsten lights, fluorescent lights, things like that. But aside from that, you also have different ranges of color. So you have your 2000 color or Kelvin lights that are warm, all the way up to 10,000 that are very cold lights. And so those will actually show and present color in a whole different gamut. So let's see, custom artwork, the do's and don'ts. And we've got about 10 minutes here, and I really want to answer your questions. So let's just kind of highlight on this. You want to make sure that you do pay for images if you're getting them from the internet. These are how you get your highest resolution images. A lot of us cell phones nowadays will produce a very high res image, but in the same spirit, you want to ask your vendor for help and confirm that the file that you're sending works and is a high enough resolution to print. Always ask for a printed sample before production. And again, going back to all those variables, lighting and things like that, just so you know what to expect and your homeowner knows what to expect. Always require a layout and diagram of your image and showing how it's laying across the material. You want to make sure that if the image is going to break over a number of panels, that it breaks in a appropriate place to where it doesn't cut off an eye or an ear in a weird way or a word or something like that. And also do provide physical samples of color to a manufacturer if you need to match color. Some don'ts. Don't just grab an image from a Google search. More often than not, these images are much too small for printing, and you kind of get into some concerns there with copyright issues and whatnot, which kind of goes into my next topic. Don't print sports logos or movie posters or other trademark items without permission. We get a lot of questions about, hey, can you print this this LSU logo on a roller shade because my son loves LSU? Unfortunately not, because unless we have express written consent from LSU to do that, we legally can't do that. So, and again, don't assume that just because you have the printable file that you can print it. So this kind of goes more into maybe you have a digital file from your wedding photographer that you want to print to a roller shade, right? Well, the actual photographer, because they own the copyright to that image, that they need to sign a release, and it needs to be given to that print manufacturer saying, hey, I released this image to be printed on this roller shade. So, and never waive a printed sample, always require it. And again, don't just copy another's design, whether it's from another manufacturer. You always want to, if you want something that is on a drapery and you want to apply to a roller shade or vice versa, you want to create a pattern that is inspired by and to not have a direct copy. And last but not least, going more into the performance standards. So will digitally printed materials hold up over time? The short answer, yes. Digital printing isn't new. It's evolved for the past 20 or 30 years. Ink manufacturers, material manufacturers work very well together to where, it'll work in virtually any type of interior environment. But I'm always asked, well, what about fading, right? When you're printing for interior applications, 99.9% of the time, that graphic is facing the inside of the room. It's not facing outside, to where there's zero chance of fading. But again, every material out there, whether it's printed, whether it's a solution dyed nylon, whatever that is, has some chance of fading over time. But truth be told, you actually have more of a chance of a fading, just depending on certain geographical areas, if it's exterior facing, things like that. And lastly, what about being durable? And so, durability, it really comes down to the actual material that art is applied to. And so, if that material isn't being used in a approved application, so maybe you're using a drapery fabric but trying to apply it as an upholstery on a chair. Well, more often than not, that doesn't have the same, double rub testing or a rating that it needs to, and so you may have a failure as an upholstery versus being used as a drapery application. So, just things like that. So now, we have about 5 or 6 minutes left. I know we do have some questions here. And again, this is your time to ask questions, and we'll kind of go from there. Liz, do you see any questions that are key right now? Is the material vinyl coated fiberglass? So it really, and it comes from Mark Barone. That that really depends on the application that you're doing. Most fiberglass based materials are not printable because the actual ink won't adhere to a fiberglass piece. There is a high chance of being or of it flaking off. So let's see. Are the fabrics coated after being printed on for extra durability for marring and scratches? So there are some manufacturers that when and this is specific to, like, if you're doing upholstery, drapery fabric, or panel fabric, those 3 manufacturers may coat them offline with Krypton or some other eco-friendly way to repel water and stains. So the answer is yes and no. At TEXTON, when we do roller shades, there's no aftercoating needed for that, just because of our manufacturing process. But if you're applying it to an actual fabric, you may want that additional coating. Let's see here. Liz, do you see any other questions at all?
Yes, up a little bit further, Mark Barone was asking what openness factors are available.
Yes. So with TEXTON in our roller shades, you have everything from 1, 3, and 5% for our solar screens to 10%, and then and obviously our light filtering. So there is a large gamut there. If you did want to do something for exteriors, we have a 5% and a 10% openness. So.
And Ryan, there was another question. Are there recommended fabrics for both solar and blackout that the printing works best on? And I believe you answered some of that about, can you just answer that real quick?
Yeah. So any fabric that is printed on needs to be white. You don't want to print on a fabric that it already has a dye or a color to it, because one, you won't see the design as much as you would being printed to a white surface, and two, usually if it already has a color applied to it, there could be an extra coating on top of that may not let the ink apply or fully adhere itself to that material. So usually it's a white based material, and TEXTON has many. In our color book, we have 17 different materials in addition to ones that are available for a contract as well. So.
And let's see, I think there was one other question. Let's see, what is approximate turnaround time?
Great question. So for roller shades, and it's really the same process for whether you're getting, like, say, custom printed drapery through design text or something like that. We always estimate, if you're doing custom, 3 to 4 weeks from the time that the order is placed to the time that the order is shipped. And so in that time, we, as well as the other manufacturers, will send you a digital preview of what this is going to look like, a strike off for custom, and then you go to production. If you're just ordering straight out of a book, you're looking at 10 business days. So, and that would be for non-custom pieces. So.
Okay, and then one other question, we've got 2 more and then I think we're done. Do you sell or provide digital samples to dealers so we can show our customers?
Absolutely. So it's, while we don't have a dedicated kit of digital samples, if we can definitely work with you to provide some custom pieces to better show capabilities, and that is something that I am working on with my marketing team. But that is, but I can definitely help you do that. So, and
we do offer the color book.
Oh yeah, that too. Yes. Sorry.
Yes. Let's see. And will you be at the High Point Furniture Market this October?
We will not. But next year we do plan to be at that show, maybe exhibit. But for this year, I will not be there, and neither will Ed or Liz. So.
So I believe that's all the questions.
All right. Well, folks, hey, thank you so much. On the screen here is how to get in touch with us. I'm rchris at texton.com. Liz is Liz Williams at TEXTON. And then there's also my LinkedIn page if you want to get in touch with me there. So thank you again, everyone, for viewing. I will send out the